It really is just such a big brotherhood. I mean, like, I can tell you, I had so many, even women, like, of course, all the men was like, oh, I'd have never let that happen. And I would have, like, whooped her down or whatever. But even like women officials, were reaching out to me, like, girl, I would have had your back. I'd have jumped on her. Like, you know. So, yeah, it really is no matter if it's somebody that you call with every weekend or, every season for reg ball, it doesn't matter. So many of these I will never meet in person, but, we still message over Facebook, we still keep in touch. It was just really cool. I kind of have to give her credit for this. I mean, she looked me dead in the eye and said, when you come off that field, I'm going to slap I'll say crap, but that's not what she said. She said, I'm going to slap the crap out of you. And, then she turned around and walked off and we just resumed play. I really didn't think I didn't think she was actually gonna be there when I came off the field. So we played about 2 more innings to finish the game and I didn't see her. I thought she had left, but she had apparently just walked over to like a little section of trees, kind of over to the side of the concession stand and was waiting there for the game to be over. So my partner and I were leaving and the field, and I turned around and went back to get the ball out of the pitching circle. And when I walked off the field, I mean, she was just there. And she was like, now what do you have to say to me, bitch? And punched me. So, yeah. Very unexpected. I still have it. I just don't know that it's the same, as it was. And do I know that it ever will be? I guess time will tell. But
That's
definitely.
understandable.
Yeah, I definitely keep my much more aware of my surroundings, particularly leaving a field. Even at rec ball, where I know 90% of the people, it's my local community. It's all, but you always have that one, that one or two.
Right.
But am I going to give it up anytime soon? Absolutely not. And somebody had asked me, why didn't I quit? And I'm like, why would I let her win?
Right.
Why would I let her take that from me? If I was in the wrong, I was always taught that you take responsibility and you own up to your mistakes.
And now, Season 2, Episode 25, Letter U, Unexpected. Join hosts Dana Pappas and Nate Acosta with special guest Kristi Moore on the From A to Zebra podcast.
Welcome back to the From A to Zebra podcast. I'm Dana Pappas, back with my co-host Nate Acosta for this week's episode.
On today's episode, we are visiting with a guest who became the face of youth sports officiating in 2022 for an incident that shined a light on challenges that officials face across the country. This show covers the letter U and the word unexpected, and our guest certainly had an unexpected event in her career.
Our guest is Kristi Moore. Kristi has been a softball umpire for close to 15 years and became a voice for officials in April of 2022 when she was assaulted by a parent after a 12U softball game.
Kristi, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us. Before we get into the topic of the day, would you please share with us your own officiating journey, how you got started, the sports you've worked, steps along the way, and of course, where you are in your journey now?
Yes, thank you so much for having me on to talk about this. I really appreciate it. I played softball all in school, and then my stepdaughter played, and I love the game. So I decided that that was a way to just kind of stay involved with it, and you kind of get too old to play, actually, be efficient at it. So I was actually, my daughter was playing rec ball, and I just thought, you know what, hey, I can do that. And so I just reached out to the local assigner and told him I was interested and started out doing rec ball and moved to travel ball. I've done very little baseball just to help a buddy out when, because the pool is shrinking. So if he gets in a bind, I'll help him out. But mostly just softball. Now I am the state UIC for USFA and also the softball UIC for the city of Laurel, Mississippi.
Yeah, you talk about travel ball, and I mean, just as a parent, how expensive is that, right? And so I think I actually think you figured it out, right? It's like, you know
Yeah,
what? If I'm gonna pay for this, I might as well go make some of the
exactly.
money that I'm paying for. So
Yeah.
Have to, try to break even at some point. So Kristi, we're going to actually jump right into it. So the incident that happened in April 22 was absolutely unexpected. And if memory serves correctly, you were actually filling in for an umpire who had become sick that day. Can you take us through what happened, how you got the assignment, and then once you took the field, and then after the game?
Okay. I was actually there as the UIC capacity for the day. I had assigned that whole tournament. So I was just kind of there to ironically put the fires out, not start one myself, but
Not be in the fire.
right. And so, like you said, I had an umpire that got sick, and it was the last game on that particular field. And so I was like, "Yeah, I'll just jump out there and finish this one off." So, yeah, that's what I did. We were probably about 2 innings in, I guess, and this lady, well, actually, it was the whole team, was just kinda the fan base, parents, and what have you, were just really, really loud and kind of obnoxious, for lack of a better word, just yelling. And then this one particular lady, and I use that word loosely, came up to the fence and just started just screaming and cussing at me, just saying that I was for the other team, and I was not for the other team, but it was all over a play at second base. And she was cussing. So I told her she had to leave. I ejected her, and she told me she wasn't leaving. So at that point, I went to the coach and said, either she leaves or we forfeit this game, because we're not going to continue to play with her at the fence screaming profanities, across the field and what have you. And he didn't really acknowledge the issue. He just kind of waved his hand at her. And at that point, I mean, she looked at me, and I kind of have to give her credit for this. I mean, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "When you come off that field, I'm going to slap I'll say crap, but that's not what she said. She said, I'm going to slap the crap out of you." And, then she turned around and walked off, and we just resumed play. I really didn't think, I didn't think she was actually going to be there when I came off the field. So we played about 2 more innings to finish the game, and I didn't see her. I thought she had left, but she had apparently just walked over to like a little section of trees, kind of over to the side of the concession stand, and was waiting there for the game to be over. So my partner and I were leaving and the field, and I turned around and went back to get the ball out of the pitching circle. And when I walked off the field, I mean, she was just there. And she was like, "Now what do you have to say to me, bitch?" And punched me. So, yeah. Very unexpected.
Yes,
Thank
the
you,
topic of the
unexpected.
day. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I already have so many questions, right? Because I mean, we've all been there and we've all done that and we've all seen it, especially in the non-interscholastic realm, right? Interscholastic, you have administrators, you have security, a lot of these fields. I mean, because for a time, I umpired softball and baseball in that realm, and you're right, like there's 4 or 5 fields going on at once, and even if you eject someone, there is no way of knowing if they actually left or not. And a lot of times, because especially if these prominent club teams, right, have some kind of status or whatever it is, a lot of these directors of these events really don't want to do anything, right?
No,
They're trying to,
he
and
actually
they're trying,
wasn't even there
right.
when this
Or
happened.
they're not, or they're not there,
Yeah.
right? And they're trying to massage these situations, and so nothing gets done, and then these situations happen, and they don't happen often, right? I want listeners to know that these incidents don't happen often, but the fact is the reason why in the interscholastic realm, right, that we have security and we have preventative measures, is because just in case.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that you had to, you know, take a fist to the face because these preventative measures weren't there. And man, I mean, just the thought of, like, I got chills, right? Got a little sick to my stomach because I mean, this could happen to anyone, right? And this and it's dangerous out there. And you know, I as a 6'2", 200-pound guy, right? I mean, I I fear that for myself. I
Right.
can't even imagine, what that situation is, and so, as I talk to the listeners right now, I'm talking because this is real, and we have to do better, and we have to find ways to prevent these things, and from the very start of your story till you getting punched in the face, right? Like, there was nothing that would have prevented that. Nothing. Absolutely not.
No.
And so I don't know. I mean, I guess my question to you is, what how do you envision that if you could replay that whole situation, what would you have liked to have seen and the preventative measures leading up to that or even after the whole situation? Like I said, I was going to go random. Like this is very sensitive to me. I'm fired up.
Yeah, I really feel like the director should always be on site, barring he has an emergency or something. I feel like that there should never be a situation where he's not there. And it's really sad though, but it's a fact that we've just reached a point where if you have a big tournament, there needs to be some form of security there. There needs to be someone there that follows through the ejection process once an official says, hey, you're ejected for X, Y, and Z. Someone on the other side of the fence needs to be there and pick that up and make sure that that person is escorted off the premises. If that had been done, then what happened to me wouldn't have happened because somebody would have been there to ensure, that she left. And really the hardest part for me, it wasn't even really about me. It was going home to my two children. I'm a single mom, and they were just so upset and crying, like, Mom, we don't want you to do this anymore, because what if it would have been worse?
Mhm.
And then I start reflecting and I'm thinking, well, what if it would have been worse?
Right.
What if she would have had a knife in her bag? What if she'd had a gun in her bag? What if she would have got a baseball bat and just started pounding? You just don't ever know. I mean, and in retrospect, I guess I could, I kind of got off lucky with just a black eye and little eardrum damage, but um you don't know, and I just it didn't just affect me, it affected my children, and of course, it
Sure.
affected my parents and, my family, and it was just a lot to deal with, but I feel like that there needs to be, definitely on site. I think that people they just don't take it seriously. I think in the back of and I'll be honest to you, before this happened to me, you don't think it's gonna happen to you.
Right.
No.
And I'm sure there's not a director sitting anywhere right now that's thinking, "Oh, well, I better beef up the security because somebody's gonna get the snot beat out of them at my tournament this weekend." But the facts are that it's real and it does happen. And does it happen every tournament? No, but it's happening more and more often, and
And one time is too many. Like,
exactly.
one time is too many.
Yeah.
And, no matter how many times I've heard this story, Christy, I think the thing that I can't get out of my head is this was over a call at second base in a 12U
Yes.
softball game. Like, no matter how many times I say that out loud, it doesn't make any more sense. Like, that's just absurd for somebody to take that kind of action against somebody for providing a service, which is what you were doing just because they disagreed, but it boggles my mind. So, on the day that it happened, Christy, when it all happened after the assault took place, did you call police right away? Did somebody call for you? Kind of what happened? What was the aftermath that
Mhm.
day like?
As soon as she assaulted me, of course, there were kids everywhere. And this happened to be at my local hometown park. So there were a lot of kids there that I knew on a personal level that I've umpired for years, either through rec or travel ball. And so she punched me and ran. And so then immediately, all these children are screaming like, oh my gosh, she punched her. She punched Miss Christie. And so then adults are like, what? Oh my God, oh my God. And then there was a guy there from the Parks and Recreation Department, and he took off after her. He chased her to the parking lot and actually got her tag number, and he called the police and was on the phone with the police. So the police was immediately called. She did leave the premises, but she was pulled over shortly thereafter. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
I mean, I guess where you are, I mean, what was the penalty for that? Was it just an assault charge? Was there anything that happened legally?
Well, that night she was arrested. So policemen came to where I was at, and then there was police that pulled her over. And so I identified her through text messages. They sent a picture and I identified her. So they arrested her. And I had to go to the police station that night to press charges. And ironically enough, when I got there, they came out there and was like, we just want to let you know that she's screaming that if you press charges, she's going to press charges on you. And so I was like, okay, well, just tell her to bring it because I mean, I literally did nothing to this lady.
You might have missed a play at second. Yeah. I mean, that's
But I didn't. I didn't miss it. Okay. It's not
So
wrong.
there's not.
I stand by that. Have I missed calls? Yes. Am I going to miss more? Absolutely. Did I miss that one? Heck no. No, it did not. I would stand by that till the day I die. No, it did not.
so for the officiating community, right? Like I'm sitting here thinking like, what would really piss a parent off that much? So please, will you break down the play?
It was actually a steal to second. I thought she was under the tag. And apparently this mom did not feel like she was under the tag. She wanted to call out. I called her safe. If her legs up to her behind is sitting on the plate and the tag is, up at her chest, then, no, I don't have an out. She's under it. Yeah.
And that was the play that got
That was the
a
play
fist
that
to the
started
face.
the whole thing. That was it.
Listeners, I'm
It was
mind blown
It
at
wasn't a home plate. It wasn't a 1-1 game. It wasn't a big earth shattering
and it's just a bang bang play.
bang, bang play. Yep. Yep.
Nate's head is about to explode.
Yeah.
No, it's mind blowing because we're talking something that is split decision,
Mhm.
and it's tough. It's a tough play for us, right? No matter the sport. And I'm going to get punched in the face because you're 60, 70, 80 feet away watching a play that I'm standing over that's 2 feet away, and I have the best look, and even at that best look, that play is tough, and you're going to lose your mind over something as small as safe or out,
12
because
you.
not
12
only did
you.
it not only did it change your life, right?
Yeah.
It definitely changed her life.
Yeah.
Right. And then so for the fans that listen to our show and parents that are watching their kids, like understand, like, I mean, think about big picture. Is it really that safer out really worth changing your life or changing somebody else's life?
Yeah.
And man, that's why I'm mind blown right now because that's why I wanted to know what the play was because it's not like it was a game deciding decision or anything crazy. And 90% of altercations and officiating happen over something that happened that really has no bearing on the game.
Mhm. Yeah. So, it did change her life, and not only her life, but also her child's life because, as far as I know, her kid's a great player. This kid had potential to go on and do great things. She had ability, to play ball. But now, I mean, that whole team organization is banned from my organization. They can't play in any of our tournaments statewide. So they've been banned from that, lifetime banned.
Is that the players too? Can they jump to another team and play?
No, not if I know. Not if I
So
know.
those athletes are completely done within your state.
They were done within my organization in my
Okay.
state. Yes.
Okay.
The owner of that organization, ironically enough, did reach out a couple weeks ago wanting to know if they could come back. And then I kind of was torn a little bit on that because I hate to keep punishing kids that maybe didn't have anything to do with that. But at the same time, he didn't step up and do the right thing either. So, he was bragging in the parking lot, jumping up and down, that he wasn't a snitch. He didn't tell the cops her name and he was the real MVP and all that kind of thing. And so there's never been any real remorse or apology from him, the head of the organization, her herself. She was actually proud about it, bragging about it on Facebook, and she was going to beat this charge, and she wasn't going to be disrespected like that, and all that kind of thing. So, had there been at any point between even then and now, current day, had anybody reached out to me and been like, "Hey, we're really sorry that happened. We've eliminated that, kind of behavior from our organization. We're trying to do better. Can you reconsider?" Maybe I would have, but I'm just not there because there's been no accountability. So I feel like if there's no accountability, then you don't feel like you need to make any improvements. So, yeah.
So to ask a question, kind of back to our questions. I mean, and I even hate to ask this because it's, I mean, almost. Is there anything that you could have done to prevent the incident?
I've thought about this a lot. And I really don't think so because there was no way to not eject her. I mean, because her behavior was just so atrocious and dropping the F bomb and screaming it out in front of these children. And not only the 12U children that were on the field, but there's all these smaller children that are siblings and whatever that are there that she's just screaming about, all these words in front of them, threatening me, and so she had to go. So I don't regret that. If I could change, probably any one thing, it would be not turning around to go back to get the ball because that left me kind of alone, coming off the field. I was just by myself, and a lot of people wanted to blame my partner. Oh, you know if I would have been your partner that day, that would have never happened, and I would have just beat her down. And I'm like, no, wait a minute, because that's on me. I was directly behind him and he didn't know I turned around and went back. I mean, as soon as we came off the field, there's kids waiting there. There's people waiting there to talk to you and, whatever. And he was immediately, surrounded by children that were talking to him and what have you. And it was totally me that didn't say, "Hey, I'm going back to get the ball. Wait up just a second." I just turned around and went back. But that was a very valuable lesson to learn. So now, unless I'm doing rec ball when I'm on a field by myself, you will never see me exiting a field without my partner again. It just won't happen.
That's a great piece of advice for anybody who's listening, as far as exiting the field, the court, whatever playing surface you're officiating on. If you have a partner, make sure that you leave together for that reason, and you hope that this doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen often, but like I said, one time is more times than it should have ever occurred.
Yeah.
Um, but that's a great lesson for anybody who's
And
especially
never,
started.
never, ever, ever leave on the losing team side. Never go
Another good point.
that way. Always go out the winning side if you possibly can. Yeah, never leave on the loser side.
Well, and
Good
unfortunately,
advice.
and this is all sports, right? Like you should
It is.
always leave the field, the court, the pitch, whatever it is, just your head on a swivel because it doesn't matter how smooth that game went. Like even to this day, right? Even when I leave the basketball court,
Yeah,
and I'm being escorted by, you know, that city's police or security, there's still that element of something could happen and I just need to make sure that I'm not going to get blindsided or, and it's it's really a sad reality, but you know what? Like it's preventative, right? And it's just you just have to take care of yourself in the sense that hey, it doesn't matter if that game went smooth and it was a blowout or both teams were happy. There's the potential, right? And there's a possibility that somebody is upset. And
yeah.
so you just have to head on a swivel and just know your surroundings. And that's especially in youth and interscholastic, you're walking to a parking lot and you're parked in the same parking lot as
The fans.
right? And so, it's really important. I know that you're in a hurry to get home or you're in a hurry to go to dinner with the crew, but wait it out a little bit. Let people cool down. That game ends. And, if you just wait it out just a tad, right?
Yeah.
Change in the locker room, you kill a little time, you kind of, it's that 24-hour rule, right? You let people just kind of cool off a little bit, but always head on a swivel. I think that's the preventative. I hate asking that question because you can't prevent stupidity either,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's real.
I've learned, through this to always now expect the unexpected. Like you just said, no matter how smooth you think a game is gone or whatever, in any sport, in any kind of official, you're 50% right and 50% wrong, all of the time. So it's a shame, though, that people really take this so seriously and 8U, 10U, 12U, even 14U, whatever, it's not that serious.
Yeah.
It's just not.
The
And
kids are there to have fun and,
right,
parents, sometimes taint that for them, and it's so unfortunate because the actions of those adults affect those kids, and it's just unfair to them because largely they're not doing anything wrong. They're trying to play and have fun with their friends, and then you have parents who are either trying to live vicariously through their kids or who have just lost all perspective about what it is that we're
mhm,
doing at these youth games, and it just there's no excuse for it. It doesn't matter if it's the best umpire or the worst umpire in that event. It doesn't excuse that kind of behavior. Like, it just I will never be able to wrap my head around it, like,
No.
ever.
no. And I think I say this a lot because I really feel like this is true, is somehow along the way, people do not view officials as humans. They just view you out there as just calling a game and feel like that they can just say or do anything and they have a right to do that because you're officiating their child's ball game, and that gives them just automatic access to yell at you, belittle you, embarrass you, threaten you, and actually follow through on a threat in my case, but nobody seems to realize that, hey, we're human. We're going to make a mistake. We're going to. I mean, we're going to blow a call. We're going to forget a rule that we've known for years because let me tell you something, travel ball, you know, is not no joke. You're out there 6, 7, 8, 9 games.
It's a
It's a
long day.
long day. And everybody's like, well, why don't you three man? Well, you know what? Because of your behavior, there's not enough officials to go around for that. So it's either we Iron Man and we get it done, or your kid doesn't play. Because without us, you got a scrimmage. You don't have a game.
That's right.
But nobody wants to realize that part of it, that we are human. Yeah, we're going to make a mistake just like you. Does somebody come to your job and yell at you, stand over you and yell at you and berate? How would you feel about that? Oh, no, no,
Exactly.
you misspelled that word, you idiot. You better back that up and fix it right. I mean, no, nobody wants that. Well, we don't either. We're doing the best we can. I mean, by the end of the day, are you going to have the same umpire that you had at the first game of the day for travel ball? Absolutely not. You're not going to. We're tired. We're ill. We're hungry. We're emotionally, mentally, physically, we're tired. And you yelling at me doesn't help matters at all.
No,
It's
Not at
just
all.
not. A little, hey, Blue, can I get you a Powerade? Hey, Blue, you want a Skittle or two? That would just go a long way, just right there. Just a little encouragement. Hey, we appreciate you being out here today so our kids could play. You know,
it doesn't take much. It really doesn't.
what? Give
Hey,
me a
Blue,
pack of Skittles and I'm
I
doodle.
appreciate you being out here for 9 games.
Yeah,
Do you need
exactly.
something to eat
Right.
so you can get your plays right? That's how I would
Right.
do it, right?
So, Christy, to kind of shift a little bit because this is a hard thing to talk about. It's a reality. It's scary a little bit. It's ugly. It's things that we don't, we hope never happens to people, but obviously it happened. So after the incident occurred, I know you were interviewed a lot. You were on the media quite a bit, and you kind of became the face of youth sports officiating. What were some of the unexpected positives that really came out of the negative of this incident?
I didn't really see a lot of positives right away, probably just because of how my mindset was. But
Sure.
honestly, I was not prepared when I just made a Facebook post. Hey, look, if you're at a tournament and you only have one umpire on the field, this is why. If you have a not so great official, somebody that's brand new that don't know all the rules yet or whatever, and they're already out there, this is why. Because officials are dropping by the droves because of this, and posted a picture with my eye. And somebody messaged me and said, hey, make that shareable. Can you make that shareable? And I said, sure. And I mean, I woke up the next day to a whole new world. Like, I mean, it had literally just blown up. It took me weeks upon weeks to go through Facebook messages, friend requests, like all these things. And it was a lot. It was a lot. I live in a very small town in Mississippi. Okay. Like, I'm not used to being some kind of public figure, couldn't go to Walmart without, "Oh, hey, that's you. You're the one that got punched, right, last weekend?" Uh, on the front page of the newspaper, on all the local news channels, all over the news and, really all over the world. I had so many people reach out to me from, I mean, countries I'd never even heard of, officiating sports that I had to Google because I had no idea. Like, what are you even talking about? Like, but good for you. Yeah, keep up the fight, like, did no clue. But, I've met the most amazing people through this journey, Dana, you being one of them. It opened a door, and just gave me a huge platform to speak out about this and how important it is to get stricter laws. Particularly, I know in my state, we really, really need to do something about that. So I've had a chance to advocate for that. And she did not. You had asked me earlier. No, she got a little slap on the wrist.
Yeah,
Actually, that was a
of course.
misdemeanor. She bailed out that night. I think it was 400 and something dollars. And then we actually went to court. She kept pushing it off and pushing it off. We actually went to court in November. This had happened in April. She at first entered her plea of not guilty. And I'm like, lady, I mean, there's millions. I mean, there's like literally, okay, there's hundreds of people that were around, right? So when we showed up at court that day, though, she changed it to guilty. She got a no contact order against me and a 460 something dollar fine. So, you know, as somebody had asked me, what did you want to see happen to her? And I was like, well, I wanted her to have to take anger management classes. And I also wanted her to have to suit up in Mississippi
Mm.
in the end of July, beginning of August. And I want her to have to call some games out there. And I want her to get a little feel of what it's like to be out there and to be just yelled at all day and just criticized for every call that you make and just see what that pressure is like. I wanted her to have to experience that, but nobody asked me, unfortunately, what I thought her punishment should be. So,
You
that
have some good ideas too.
that's what if I would have had my way, that's what I would have chose. But it did. I actually, I got to go speak at the National Association of Sports Officials Summit. That was
Our
a
friends.
that was a
That's
huge
right.
deal. It was a lot of fun. I've done Good Morning America, Inside Edition, Prime Time with Jesse Waters, Dr. Phil. That was an experience. I flew to California by myself
Oh my
and
gosh.
did the whole Dr. Phil thing. And so, it did open up a lot of doors, and I've made a lot of friendships that, I feel like will last, a lifetime. So that's been really cool.
Chrissy, thank you because you opened up doors that a lot of us spend our careers trying to open. Dana being one of them, right? NASO trying, one of them. And unfortunately, it takes incidents like this and for you to have to go through something like that for people like Dr. Phil and Inside Edition and
For them to
Good
take
Morning America,
notice.
like the national networks to actually open their eyes and go, oh my gosh, we have a
Yeah.
problem here. I mean, we in this community know, NASO, our friends, our beloved friends, the reason why they are what they are is to advocate for us and do what they do.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and they are a huge voice, but they can't even open the doors that you opened from one swing. And unfortunately, like you had to be on the receiving end of that, but man, what you have done for the officiating community and what you opened for the rest of us, because now our voice actually, we're not just saying, "Hey, there's a problem here." We're
Yeah.
not just saying, "Hey, we're being abused, pay attention to us." Like, it's actually happening, and so, man, it's thank you. I mean, because I think that's the biggest positive of the entire thing. Unfortunately, a little bruise and a little black eye, and not even a little, like a big black eye.
I was fixing to say that, but I didn't wanna, like,
Yeah,
oh, no, it wasn't little. Let me dig up a picture,
I
okay?
was
Like,
gonna say,
yeah,
I don't have the picture
a
somewhere.
big black eye just created a really
yeah,
possibly a big solution, nationwide and worldwide. I mean,
yeah,
you talk you early and you brought up how sports that you didn't even know about. Like,
yeah,
how cool is our industry?
yeah, I
How
know, right?
cool is officiating?
Mhm,
How cool is it, that we are willing to take care of our own, even if we don't even officiate in the same sport?
mhm.
I mean, that's
It really
to
is just
me
such a big brotherhood. I mean, like,
It is.
I can tell you I had so
nothing
many.
bigger.
Even women, like, of course, all the man was like, "Oh, I would have never let that happen," and I would have, like, whooped her down or whatever, but even, like, women officials, were reaching out to me like, "Girl, I would have had your back. I'd have jumped
Yeah,
on her,"
absolutely.
like, you know? So, yeah, it really is no matter if it's somebody that you call with every weekend or,
It
every
doesn't matter.
season for reg ball, it doesn't matter. So many of these I will never meet in person, but, we still message over Facebook, we still keep in touch. It was just really cool. I had so many big officials, like, Major League Baseball, the Lance Barstow, I had an hour conversation on the phone with him I will never forget. He
That's
was so
amazing.
kind and he was so encouraging and so uplifting, like, "Hey, don't let this, um, stop you from doing this, keep on keeping on," and the Braves, I got to go to a Braves game, do the play
Oof,
ball call. That was huge fun experience. And I just well, I actually did this last year, but it just aired a couple of weeks ago, Whistleblowers with Cody Broadway. He came and spent an entire day with me. He's an Emmy Award winning
That's
documentary
awesome.
for NBC and Peacock. So he came
that's cool.
last September and spent a whole day with me, did a really long interview, went out to the field with me that night, filmed me doing rec ball and stuff. I haven't even had a chance to watch this. I got a little snippet, a little preview, but I've not watched the whole thing. But I'm gonna have to make time to do that. But
Yeah, you are.
you know, it is
And
definitely does
I think, Christy,
And you
that
got to hold on before because Dana's about to say something really cool, but and you got to be on the From A to Zebra podcast, the
and
biggest
I
that
mean,
show
too. Yes.
biggest show in the world.
hey, no,
Yeah,
but Christy, what I was gonna say is I've thought a lot about this since it happened and since meeting you at the summit. I I applaud your courage because it would have been really easy for you to just not
thanks.
say anything and quit and walk away and just be done with it and kind of suffer alone, be in the dark about it. And the fact that I mean, I don't think it was even your intent when you posted what you posted, but the fact that you had an outlet and you needed to say it to get it off of your chest. And then the fact that you've stuck with it, you're still umpiring, the fact that you're willing to talk about your story and hopefully, give people some ideas about what they can do to hopefully make sure it doesn't happen to them. It would have been really easy for you to just hang it up at that point because a lot of times that's what happens when people have a negative situation. They're like, "What am I doing this for? Like, not worth it. I don't wanna work 9 games on a Saturday anymore. I'm done." And you showed a lot of fortitude sticking with it, sharing your story, and really you have made a positive out of the unexpected, out of that negative that, it could have ruined somebody else's career. So it just speaks to your resolve, and, I applaud you for that, and I'm grateful that you're still using that experience to be an advocate and be a voice for officiating and be a voice for protection of sports officials, which obviously, as Nate mentioned, NASO is a huge part of that process as far as trying to get legislation pushed through at the different state levels. And stories like yours don't always end as positively as you've been able to make it end for you, and that's all on you. Being able to forge relationships and just and make it something that's a lesson for others, but also you're so positive about it. Like, I've never heard you, have a victim mentality about it. You've always been very positive and very, very honest with what happened and in the day of and in the days following. So I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. I can't sit here and say it's been an easy path.
I can't imagine.
It
Yeah.
hasn't. And I think there was a time when right after this, and it was in the whirlwind of it. I mean, I was just bombarded, Facebook, my phone number, call, just it was constantly something. I just reached a point where I'm like, okay, like I just shut down. I just went home one day and I was like, I've got to take a breather. I just can't keep up with being a single mom, working a full-time job, doing the umpiring too, and the UIC and all this stuff. So I literally went home one day and took a shower, got in my pajamas, took another shower the next day, changed into more pajamas. And so for like a little over 24 hours, I just, kind of barricaded myself at home in my room and just had to take a breather and just kind of get myself back together a little bit, give myself a little pep
For sure.
talk, like, hey, you can do this, where you're already out there now, so you can't, there's no quitting. And, you know, my dad's one of his biggest things was, quitters never win and winners never quit. So quitting is just not in my blood. Now, could I say that it's exactly the same as it always has been for me? No. Even 3 years later, no. Do I still have a passion for it? Absolutely. Do I still have a love for it? Absolutely. I love the game. I love the kids. I love being out there. One of my most favorite things is, hitting a field and having little girls look at me and say, "Oh, you're the first woman umpire, lady or girl," or however they word it. "We didn't know we could do this or that you do this." And I'm like, "You absolutely can do it. You can do whatever you want to do. If you want to be an umpire or any sort of official, you can do it. You set your mind to it and go for it, and you can be that official that you want to be." I still have it. I just don't know that it's the same, as it was. And do I know that it ever will be? I guess time will tell, but
That's
definitely.
understandable.
Yeah, I definitely keep my much more aware of my surroundings, particularly leaving a field. Even at rec ball, where I know 90% of the people, it's my local community. It's all, but you always have that one, that one or two.
Mhm.
But am I going to give it up anytime soon? Absolutely not. And somebody had asked me, why didn't I quit? And I'm like, why would I let her win?
Right.
Mhm.
Why would I let her
Absolutely.
take that from me? If I was in the wrong, I was always taught that you take responsibility and you own up to your mistakes and have accountability for your actions and what you do. And, this wasn't an incident. I merely made a call and she reacted in a negative way. And I reacted the way I was trained to by ejecting her and sticking with it. And, um, I just refuse to let her win over something. She's the one that put her hands on me. I didn't retaliate. I didn't hit her back. And I'm just not going to let her rob me of something that I worked really, really hard to be where I'm at. Because let's face it, it's a man's world. Officiating is strictly, it's male dominated. There's no doubt about it. And so to be a state UIC for an organization and to be, even though it's just a little town, rec ball, to be the UIC for that, I had to work hard to get there, and I just
Need to work harder.
refuse. Yeah, I just refuse to let her take that from me. Just
Good
no,
for you.
no. I'm also very hard headed.
I,
I'm also very stubborn,
I think
I
that's what I think that's most officials, right? We're a
I
little crazy.
appreciate
right?
everything that you just said. I might be a little stubborn too, so
Yeah.
I feel like that's relatable.
Real quick, I mean, do you feel at least in your community or things that you've seen, did your incident change? have you seen an improvement in sportsmanship or just, you
I
know
do. I can say for my own local community, yes. I think people have a little sympathy for me now. I think they may be a little bit, more forgiving. If I do blow a call, the rare little instances that we do blow one, every now and then.
Yeah, it's rare.
uh,
It really is rare.
Yes,
Rare, very rare.
very
But
rare.
yeah, from my local park, yes. But I see on Facebook, in the past couple of weeks, I don't know if y'all have seen it, but the official that the man got in his face and he spit in his face. And I mean, the official just lost it. He lost his temper and um, he beat him down. And I'm really torn on how I feel about that, honestly, because like I say, I just go back to when I say that we've lost people looking at us like we're human. This coach thought he could go and say and do and, poke at him and spit at him, and he's supposed to just stand there and take it. He's not supposed to retaliate in any way,
Right.
shape, or form because you can do or say whatever you want to an official, and they're supposed to just stand there and take it. And, everybody, every one of us has a breaking point. Everybody does. You're only going to stand there and take so much. And, do I think that this official should have assaulted the man? No. But honestly, do I get it? I get it. I watched the video, at least 15 times. Do I understand? Yeah, I do. I would hope that he doesn't lose his career, over that. I don't know anything about this man. I don't even know his name. I don't know how long he's been doing it. Nothing but, I empathize with him. I feel sympathy for him because just to be pushed to that point, it's a lot, you know.
I mean it,
Uh,
and as the kids say, "F around and find out," right? I mean, at
mhm.
what point? Because you are, and these fans are crazy because at what point are they gonna run into an official that just beats them down? I mean, I think you're right, you said it, the expectation is for us to just get spit on and accept it, and we have to be the professionals, and we have to be the
Yep.
better humans just because it's our job. We're getting paid to get spit on, and so you can't, and somebody's gonna break, and you're gonna get your butt beat. F around and find out, and and then
But we look
victim.
like the bad person though,
Yep.
it gets turned around and then we get looked at like, "Oh my gosh, like they should have never did that." But what fails to be shown is the hours and hours and hours of abuse that's been taken before that. I mean, everybody wanted to show this little snippet and like, "Oh, well, he's just real quick-tempered and he barely
Oh,
said
yeah.
anything and he just beat the snot out of him." I can assure you that's not what happened,
Yeah, absolutely.
this man had been acting that way all day and it just reached a boiling point, unfortunately, and it boiled over. Makes me sad. Hopefully, like I learned some lessons and people learn lessons from me. Hopefully some lessons can be learned from that and something good come from it. Yeah.
So, Kristi, we have a final question for you, and it's something that we ask all of our guests on the podcast. So, we have a mission every week to educate, elevate, and excite our listeners about officiating. What can you tell us about officiating that accomplishes that mission?
This is a good question. Spent a lot of time kind of pondering this, but I feel like definitely educates, not only officials, but kids, coaches. It teaches rules, fairness, respect for the game. It builds life skills, conflict resolution to the best that we can do. Okay. Doesn't always work out, the best resolution way, but we can always hope, professionalism, it helps athletes, coaches, fans understand the structure of the sport, like as officials that we can elevate by, raise the standard, ensure consistency and integrity, of your game. And I know the days get long, but ensure that you stay fair all the way around and consistent, do the best to your ability because I feel like I owe it. I owe it to the kids. And I don't always feel like I necessarily owe it to the coaches, just keeping it real. You riding me like a government mule all day, I'm not really feeling like I owe you anything, right? So I'm going to be fair, but it's going to be for the kids. It ain't going to be for you, Jack, just letting you know. But, I felt like it's important to, keep a game of integrity, really, and just raise that standard and elevate it, just the confidence and that they know that you're managing your game fairly, so, and I feel like that also just, it keeps me accountable, I'm responsible for that field. That's my game. That's my field for that time. And I'm responsible. Me and my partner are responsible. We're the authority on that field. We're responsible. We're the leadership there. So, we need to be on it and do the best that we can do. Exciting. Well, you don't get much more excitement than what came down at me, right? So definitely
Pretty
exciting.
exciting.
Pretty exciting. But really, you're at the center of the action all the time. That's exciting. Keep your adrenaline pumping, especially good, fast-paced games, where you've got two really good teams battling it out. That's exciting. And, I feel like if you keep your excitement up, it just fosters a passion, for the sport and just creates a sense of community, like we've talked about earlier, with other officials. If you're in a situation where you officiate the same teams, repeatedly, and you can, create a sense of community with them as well. As along with all the bad, there is a lot of good, like, oh, hey, Miss Christie, we love you. Are you on our field tonight? Please tell me you're on our field. You're our favorite. And so you can establish relationships, with the kids. I'll be out and about and see kids that I umpire that have graduated or, have chosen another path and no longer there. And it's always a big hug, and a big smile and, hey, how are you doing? And, that kind of makes you feel good and just lets you know, just a reminder to keep going and that there is, a lot of positive things that come out of it as well.
That was perfect. Kristi Moore, thank you. Thank you so much for joining
Hold
us.
on, hold
Yes.
on. This
So
has gotta
Nate just had another thought.
this has gotta be a Mississippi thing because ride them like a government
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 mule.
mule.
mule. Yes, you've never heard that. Like,
Never in my life I mean, obviously Dana and I are both from New Mexico and we don't have government mules here.
well, let me tell you, we got them here, okay? We got them down here in the South, all right? They're everywhere.
It's funny because I can see Nate's wheels turning ever since you said government mule. He was like, what is that?
He didn't hear anything I said past that. He's going to have to go back
No,
and listen.
I heard it. I heard it. I mean, but here it would have been
Shut
like
down after that.
it would have been a government burro here, right?
Just hang around and talk a little longer. I'll teach you something else.
Yes, I love it.
There's definitely some expressions in the South that you're just like, I've never heard that. And it's fantastic. Like, and then I try to say it, but it just doesn't come. It
Yeah, it
doesn't
doesn't
come
come out
across
the
as
same.
well.
No, you got to be Southern. You got to kind of like
You do.
sound.
Yeah,
You got to
absolutely.
sound like cornbread a little bit to be able to pull that off. Got to be old country girl.
Yeah. So it sounds so fun. Kristi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Thanks for
y'all.
teaching Nate a new expression, apparently.
Hey, I want to know, somebody email me and let me know. I want to know within the next 2 weeks how many times you incorporate that into some
Oh, I'm
conversation.
going to use it. I am going to use it from here on out. I'm going to make it a thing in New Mexico.
He's going to ride that expression like a government mule. So-
Yeah, I'm going to ride that expression like a government mule.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Well, Kristi, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I'm glad we were able to end with some laughter. That was outstanding. Appreciate you. I'm so glad we reconnected after all the years in between the summit and now
Yes.
getting back together. Please stay in touch. And if there's anything Nate and I can do for you, you know where to find me. So great to see you and really appreciate you.
You too. Thank you so much, Nate. It was nice to meet you.
Yes, absolutely. And
Great. Thank you so much.
I'm hanging around the summit from now and again. So thank you again. What an amazing story. And it's something that, I think Dana and I are super passionate about. And so thank you for sharing your story with us and our listeners, because we don't talk about it enough. I mean, we talk about a lot of different things, but I think that this is something that, I'll be honest, I avoid these conversations with newer officials because I
Yeah.
truly believe that it's a very small percentage that it actually happens. And I don't want to scare anyone off. And so I try to, my stance on officiating is always focus on the positive and ignore the negatives. But I think, these are times that, sometimes we do have to talk about them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so, thank you for bringing, telling your story. But for our listeners, thank you again for joining us. Don't forget to check us out on our Facebook, Instagram, and X. And for more information about the show, see you next time.
Be sure to hit that like button, follow, subscribe, and also catch From A to Zebra on Instagram at from_A_2_zebra, Facebook, From A to Zebra Podcast, and on X at From A to Zebra.